Good morning, it's Mona, and this is my morning view. Today, Spring Edition 2026. It is Thirsty Thinking Thursday. And for those of you that are on live, you know it's not morning where I'm at. But it is morning still in California. And I'm a California girl, so we'll just go with it there. All right. So I woke up this morning, early in the morning. I had it last night too. I had a headache. And it just got worse by morning time. So this morning, nursing a headache, trying to get through it. Then my niece came up and we were going through some things for her to take home with her. So, so it was a very busy morning between the headache, the dog. There she is. For those waiting to see the star of the show, there she is. She's still not up to par. She hasn't eaten in, I want to say like a day and a half. Going on 2 days. She got a little jealous of the cat. I was eating sardines for lunch and I decided to get this little smidgen, just this little smidgen into her rice and ground beef. And I didn't even get her the cheap stuff. I got her we had good stuff, good grass-fed beef. Had to boil it, and she's not a fan. So she hasn't eaten it since she threw it all up 2 days ago. So anyways, what the doctor ordered, she's got to eat the meat. I put that little piece of sardine in there, hoping that would entice her to eat the, all the stuff. And it encouraged the cat. The cat's like, hey, what do you got in your dish? I don't have that in my dish. And out of that jealousy, she got up, went over, and took just that little piece of sardine. A little piece of sardine. Oh, Lord help me. Okay, Thirsty Thinking Thursday. Yes, the star of the show. There she is. Thirsty Thinking Thursday, the day that I write some quasi-pseudo notes, had to get them together. Actually, it's just this page, not this page. That's from something else. Okay, so so we are starting a new series starting today, and that is the Fruit of the Spirit. So I talked about the possibility of doing names of God, and I said that would bring me, like 5 years worth of Thirsty Thinking Thursdays. So so I figured what I'll do is I'll just throw in a name of God in between the series. So that way, as I'm trying to decide what series we're going to go with, we'll put in one of the names of God. Therefore, it will last, until I'm 130. And that's cool, because I'm going to be doing this until I'm 130, unless YouTube cuts me off. So there we go. All right, so today we're going with the fruits of the Spirit. And today's word is going to be love. Now, let me talk about the fruit of the Spirit for one moment. Galatians 5. Galatians is cleaned up for our English reading purposes. Paul gets very explicit in Galatians, and he really lets them have it because they want to frustrate the Holy Spirit. They want what they're looking at is doing man-made stuff in order to be with God. Now, God instituted it with the Hebrews, with Abraham. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, so circumcision. So it was a covenant with Abraham and the children of Abraham. But when we Gentiles came into the faith, remember that the first Christians were Jewish. They were all Jewish. And so when Gentiles were accepted into the faith of Christianity, there were some Jews that were saying, well, first, for you to have the full impact, you have to really be a Jew first to understand all this. And part of being a Jew is, so So with that, that was the context of what Galatians was written for. Okay? And Paul was saying, you know, you want to go backwards instead of forwards. You want to do those flesh things, those things that are required by the law, when it's by grace. It's by grace. Nothing you can do. No snipping anything. He goes, I'd rather you just snip it off. Yes, he says that nicely, but not in the original text. Not as nice. He basically said mutilated. You mutilate yourself. I'd rather you do that than to take away from the grace. Then you take away from what Christ has done. And so he's talking to the Galatians about this circumcision of the flesh. That it doesn't matter whether you are or whether you aren't. It means nothing. That if you are circumcised because you happen to be Jewish, okay, that's fine. But if you're not Jewish, there's no point for you to go get circumcised. There's no point. And he said, when you do that, you take on all the law. So now that you are partaking in part of the law, you are inviting all of the law. And guess who cannot achieve all the law? None of us. Jesus was the only one. Jesus was the only one without sin. All of us step into our fleshly nature and do stupid stuff. Okay? So here we are. He's telling us, you step into that. The doing part. The legalism. Okay? You are stepping out of grace. And so when you do that, it's a whole lot harder to not walk in the flesh, because you're already walking in the flesh. You're walking in the flesh by thinking that you can do something in the flesh. And so what are all those things in the flesh? There's a big old list. I know one of the things that I used to do was get angry. Outburst of rage. Outburst of anger. That was me. I was that person. Was that the fruit of the Spirit? No, that's the fruit of the flesh. And as long as we sow flesh, that goes into Galatians 6. Galatians 5 has the fruit of the Spirit. But see, they didn't have addresses back in the day. It was a letter. 1 through 6. There's your letter. So I read all through 5, and then I read part of 6 in my chicken scratch. So, this way, I was getting the full picture. Actually, I read all of 6. I got the full picture of what Paul is referring to. He's talking about in 6, he's saying, God is not mocked. You will sow what you reap. You sow from the flesh, and you're going to receive the reward of the flesh. Which is what? If you sow from the Spirit, you will reap that of the Spirit. All right. So, with that, we're going to take each one of these words in accordance to what is the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit is those things that naturally come forth out of a life walking in the Spirit. It's chapter 6. So when you're walking in the Spirit, the things of the Spirit naturally come out. When you're sowing in the Spirit fruit comes out. If you're sowing in the flesh, like outbursts of rage, outbursts of anger, sexual immorality, there's a whole list. I won't go through all of it because I'm not doing a list of the fruit of the flesh. I'm doing fruit of the Spirit. So, walking in the Spirit produces the fruit of the Spirit. Sowing in the Spirit produces the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit are not 9 different fruits. One fruit. Kind of reminds me of a kiwi. Because a kiwi, people would eat a kiwi and you would have different answers to what it tasted like. I remember some people would say it tasted like a strawberry and another person said it tasted like a watermelon. You know, so depending on who was eating it and their taste buds and how it tasted, it determined what they thought it tasted like. And so the fruit of the Spirit, it's one fruit. Depending on how it's sliced, depending on how it comes out, depending on who it is that is on the receiving end of the fruit of the Spirit, will determine on whether it is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, or self-control. Those are the fruit of the Spirit. And it can be any combination or all of them, all at the same time, because they are one fruit. One. Okay? But the person on the receiving end may feel love. They may feel joy. They may feel, whatever it is that's happening. But they're one fruit, not separate. When you have one, you have access to all. But what are you sowing? What are you sowing? Are you sowing fruit of the Spirit? Or are you sowing the fruit of the flesh? They used to say, what dog are you feeding? Right? In this case, that one. All right. So looking up the word love on Google, it gave me this. A profound, multifaceted emotion, action, and commitment characterized by deep affection, empathy, and care. It acts as a chemical, neurological, emotional motivator for bonding. I'm trying to read the chicken scratch. For bonding, often characterized by stages from affection to deep commitment. Love offers benefits like reduced stress, enhanced well-being, and generally characterized by trust, sacrifice, and mutual support. Google's definition of love. Let's go to Google's biblical definition of love. Because we know that when the Bible talks of love, it isn't surface. It isn't surface-based with a give and take. No. It's just a give. All right, so here it is. It is a profound, non-physical connection that transcends ego. It is selfless, sacrificial, and unconditional commitment to the well-being of others, modeled after God's love for humanity with deep respect and a lack of agenda. That is biblical love. So in 1 Corinthians, it talks about what love is and what love isn't. It has more isn't than is's. And so I'm just going to read you the list of what 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7 says. It says, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it's not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs, does not delight in evil, rejoices with truth, it always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always preserves. Now, do those words sound like words that you emanate, and I can't say the word, emanate, blah, 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 emanate, are those words that come out of you naturally when you say you love? When they say you love, are those the things that come to mind? You love your husband. Yeah, you got a list of wrongdoings? Do you delight in evil? Those things that God detests? And you say it with the word of love? Do you trust, hope? Do you get jealous? I love my friend, but just everything works out for her. It doesn't work out for me. Makes me really mad. I mean, some of it sounds silly, but at the same time, is it? Is it silly? Is anything that the Bible's trying to teach us about being a better person silly? If you go through this list, 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, and you take those things that you say you love and you measure it against that, how does it stand? If you were in the court of law, would it hold up? You know, Paul says in another chapter, he says, you know, if you don't have love, in fact, it may have been in that same chapter of Corinthians. If you don't have love, you're just making noise. All the stuff that you do, all the stuff that you say, it doesn't matter, not one iota, if you don't have love. Love is sometimes this concept that I always feel like I'm a little short of. It's like, I don't really know how to love well. I'd like to learn how to love better. But I don't really love well. I've had a lot of sowing of the flesh. I've had a lot of that Google definition wrapped its tangles around my brain. That it's more of a give-take situation, you know. You give me some, I give you some. You give me all, I'll give you all. And that's not how it works. It's not how it works. It's selfish. It's selfless. Not selfish. Selfless. All right. That's all I got for you today. Make sure you go over to YouTube, Mona E. Harrison. You'll see my white hair, my beautiful face, and you will know you're in the right spot. When you get there, subscribe, like, share, comment, hit the notifications, get all the bells and whistles. Mona E. Harrison, different than my Facebook profile. You can watch my content on fast speed. Not the shorts, but the long ones. You can watch them on fast speed while you're resting, while you're doing the dishes, while you're folding clothes. Those times when you don't have to focus on something important. So I mean, it's all important. Doing the dishes, doing the laundry, it's got to get done. Resting, it's important. But I'm talking about, like, if you're trying to read or study or listen to music, you don't want to be listening to this. That is something that you want to do when you're not focusing with your brain on other things. All right. So, blessings, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you, Jackie, for watching. And I will catch you all tomorrow for Feisty Friday. My goodness, it's already Friday. The end of spring break. The end of spring break. All right. So, I'm going to enjoy the rest of this year because I don't know what next year's going to bring. All right. So, yeah. That's it. Blessings, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.